The blood is barely dry on Joe's porch, and Paramount Plus is already dangling the next chapter in front of us. The trailer for Lioness Season 3, Episode 2, No Sorrow Like the Survivor, just dropped, and it's not wasting any time easing the tension. If anything, it's cranking it up. Episode 1 left us with Joe gunning down two men in her own doorway and getting snatched off the street 6 months later. This new preview picks up the thread of the fallout, and it's already hinting that the war Joe brought home isn't done collecting a price. So let's break down everything the trailer for Episode 2 is showing us, what it's hiding, and where this season looks like it's headed next. This is a full breakdown of the official trailer for Lioness Season 3, Episode 2. If you'd rather go in completely blind, this is your exit. The war followed her home once already. This trailer makes it clear it's not finished. The episode is billed simply. Caitlin is racing to contain a crisis that's spilling across multiple agencies, while Neil is left trying to hold the fear at bay inside their own house. On paper, that sounds almost restrained compared to the drone strikes and cross-border extraction we got in the premiere, but the trailer suggests the opposite, that this episode is where the personal cost of Episode 1 actually lands. Caitlin's side of the story looks less like fieldwork and more like damage control, the kind where one wrong move in front of the wrong committee could unravel everything the agency just built with Alexei in custody. Meanwhile, Neil, who spent 2.5 seasons on the sidelines of Joe's double life, is finally shown carrying weight of his own, not as a bystander this time, but as someone trying to keep a household from falling apart while his wife is missing, and the reason why is something he was never allowed to know. One of the more interesting beats buried in the trailer is a short exchange involving Cruz and a fellow teammate, where he's asked point-blank if he's ready for what's coming, and he answers that he is. It's a small moment, but it lands differently than the usual premission bravado we're used to from this show. It plays more like someone being asked for informed consent before being sent into something ugly, rather than just getting handed an order. If that reading holds up, it tells you this isn't going to be a clean extraction like Alexei was. Whatever the team is walking into next, it sounds like it's the kind of operation where somebody upstairs finally has to ask permission instead of assuming loyalty. And knowing this show, an answer of "I'm ready" rarely means anyone actually is. The promo photos released alongside the trailer back this up. Caitlin appears isolated in nearly every shot, usually alone in frame, while Randy and Two Cups are shown together, heads down, clearly deep in planning rather than execution. That visual split between the political side of the agency and the operational side suggests Episode 2 is going to bounce between two very different kinds of pressure. Caitlin fighting a war of paperwork and blame, while the field team regroups for whatever comes after Joe's abduction. This is exactly the kind of trailer breakdown and episode-by-episode coverage we're doing all season for Lioness. If you don't want to miss the next one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications before you keep watching. This is the phrase doing the most work in the official logline, and the trailer leans into it without spelling it out. Given how Episode 1 ended with Joe killing two foreign operatives on US soil in what was supposed to be an undisclosed op, it's not hard to connect the dots. That kind of incident doesn't stay contained to the CIA. It's the sort of thing that drags in the FBI, possibly the State Department, and puts Caitlin in the position of managing a story that could expose the entire Alexei extraction if it leaks the wrong way. The trailer shows brief flashes of tense hallway conversations and clipped phone calls that read like exactly that kind of containment scramble, with Caitlin spending less time protecting Joe and more time protecting the operation itself. Caitlin isn't just managing Joe's crisis anymore, she's managing whether the agency survives it. Given that Joe's cover was blown the moment shots were fired at her house, it's very likely this episode is where her family gets pulled out of their home entirely. Neil's storyline in the trailer, all quiet dread and forced calm in front of his kids, has the unmistakable shape of a family about to be relocated to a safe house, not just rattled by a break-in. That's a meaningful shift for the show. Neil has spent 2 seasons as the husband kept in the dark, but this trailer positions him as someone who now has to actively manage the fallout of Joe's job without getting any of the context that would make it easier. If the show follows through on that, expect some hard, overdue conversations about what Joe's work has actually cost this family, conversations Neil has clearly been owed for a while. There's also the matter of trust, which the marketing has been leaning on hard all season. A network of foreign operatives, names disappearing from files, and betrayals that aren't confined to just one side of the conflict. Caitlin's arc this season has already been framed around figuring out exactly who inside her own circle can still be trusted, and Episode 2's trailer only sharpens that. If someone fed Joe's location to the men who grabbed her, the search for that leak likely starts here, and it's not a stretch to guess the answer sits closer to home than anyone wants it to. If the trailer is any indication, Episode 2 is going to trade the premiere's border-crossing firefight for something quieter and arguably more dangerous. The political and personal cleanup after a mission that was never supposed to leave a trace. That's usually where Lioness is at its best, honestly, when it slows down just enough to let the cost of the last episode actually register. My one worry is that Joe herself barely appears in this preview, which either means her abduction storyline is being held back for a bigger reveal, or the show is deliberately making us sit in the chaos she left behind before we get back to her. Either way, this looks like a tense follow-up, and I'll be back with the full episode breakdown the moment it drops. That's everything the trailer for Lioness Season 3, Episode 2 is telling us. Let me know in the comments what you think that agency-spanning crisis actually is, and whether you think Neil and the kids make it to a safe house before things get get worse. If this kind of trailer breakdown is useful to you, subscribe so you catch the full episode 2 review the second it's live. Thanks for watching.